I'm going to tell you something I'm not supposed to say in a YouTube video. This is not the best way to watch this video. And here's what I mean. The video you're about to watch is from a live session that we had at Tethered online. There, the people who watched it got live interactive notes. They got to follow along with their Bible. They even had a live chat with other people watching and some of my trained hosts ready to interact with them, pray with them, and give them a lot more resources. Now, we of course welcome you to watch this full video and all of our past videos here on our YouTube channel, but you really will get the best if you visit tethered.online and join us for a live Tethered Online session. But for now, we hope you enjoy this video. Hey everybody, welcome to Tethered Online. We're in a series right now, Jesus Didn't Say That, where we're looking at the things, well, Jesus didn't say. Like, for example, you won't have bad days. Jesus never said anything like that. And we're looking at the things Jesus never said so that we can better understand what he did say. Now, this is a perfect time, as always, to invite a friend. If you're watching this with us live, we're so grateful that you are here. Go on and check out the chat. There's a big blue button, invite a friend. You can text it to them, you can email it to them, and also be engaged in that chat. Introduce yourself. You can engage with the different buttons we put in there, from connecting with our host to requesting prayer. There's a notes section where we have notes with this lesson, and you can actually go in and edit those and download them onto your computer. Now, you don't have access to any of that if you are part of our YouTube family. We're so grateful. We love you guys. In fact, we love you so much, we would love to meet you in the chat in one of our live sessions. So if you don't, go check out tethered.online. There you can watch Tethered Online live with us every single week. And then finally, one thing I want to remind you about is in the series, we're talking about things Jesus did not say, which begs the question, what did Jesus say? And we actually have a new texting series where you can receive a text message from Jesus. What I mean by that is for the next 3 weeks after you sign up, every few days, you will receive a message of what Jesus did say and maybe a little devotional thought with it. So if you want text messages from Jesus, there's a number on the screen right now. All you need to do is text Jesus to that number. Jesus to that number on the screen. You can write it down right now. You can do it right now just to get you in and then come back. But now's a great time to join that series. And I am glad to have all of you here today with us at Tethered. This is a message dedicated to any one of you who have decided to follow Jesus or are seriously considering that option, but life just isn't going the way you expected. Right? Because we decide to give our life to Jesus. We decide, okay, I'll give this Jesus thing a shot. Or we're curious about what does it mean to follow Jesus, but life just keeps slapping us in the face. You know, we're in this series called Jesus Didn't Say That. And why are we talking about what he didn't say? Well, in order to see the powerful things he did say. And today, I want to look at what Jesus didn't say about having good days or having bad days. And just for fun, let's start out with some of the things Jesus also didn't say, just to keep the tradition going with our other weeks. So here's what Jesus didn't say. You want to know? Jesus never said, "Whoever does my will or does the will of my Father will always have the best parking spots." He didn't say that. You're not guaranteed good parking spots unless you are an expecting mother, a handicap, or a pastor at one of those churches that has like the pastor parking. I never understood why those are a thing, but there you go. You want to know what Jesus also never said? He never said that if you lose your life for my sake, you'll always look great in a swimsuit. Always be looking good. Thank goodness swimsuit season is over and past us. We don't have to worry about that because Jesus definitely didn't guarantee that we would look good in a swimsuit. And he also never said, seek first the kingdom of God and you will never, ever get a cold sore before an important date. They'll never come up. You'll never get zits before prom. Sorry, Jesus never said that. You know what real love is though, right? It's whenever you go in for that first kiss, you see a gigantic cold sore and you say, hey, I'm diving in anyway, cold sore or not. That's gross. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that, gone that far. Okay, here's what I hope you'll understand. Jesus never, ever, never, ever, ever promised that you would always be healthy. He certainly didn't promise that wealth would be in your future, that you'd always get the best parking spots, that your Wi-Fi would never buffer while streaming. And this is debunking a lot of presuppositions that you might have about what it means to follow Jesus. So here's a question for us to think about and to talk about in the chat. Why do you think God doesn't shield us from all pain and suffering? So in the final few days of Jesus' life on earth, he had this opportunity to lift up some of his closest friends, to give them some parting words of encouragement. And here's what he said. Very truly I tell you, you will weep and mourn while the world rejoices. Now notice what Jesus didn't say. He didn't say that you would rejoice and always be happy. He said the world would be doing that. He actually said you are going to be incredibly upset. You're going to weep. You're going to mourn. While the world, everybody say world. Everybody say world again. Just say it out loud. Doesn't matter if you're in a cafe. Just say world. In fact, somebody type world, or even better, somebody put one of those little world emojis in the chat. Put a little world emoji right there in the chat. I want to see a bunch of worlds pop up real quick. The world, the world. Jesus uses that phrase actually 19 different times in the little section that we're reading. He says things like, peace I give you. I do not give you the peace that the world gives. He says things like, I came from the Father to the world, and now I'm going to leave the world and go back to my Father. He said, hey, if the world hates you, just know that it hated me first. And he said things like, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world, so notice what he doesn't say next. He doesn't say, in this world, you got this. Like, you're going to crush it. You're going to own it. You go, girl. No matter what comes, you're going to be able to take care of it. There's always going to be parking. You're never going to lose Wi-Fi connection. Your stocks and your Coinbase account, they're going to skyrocket. Your girlfriend's never going to break up with you. You're never going to lose your job. Your plumbing's never going to go out. No, 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 no. He says, finishing the sentence, you will have trouble. You will have trouble. Pain is a promise. Struggle, it's certain. Suffering in this world, yeah, it is inevitable. Welcome to Tethered, where we help you feel good about yourself, right? And some of you are in the middle of a really difficult season. In fact, I've talked to some of you about the season you're going through. You feel left out or alone. You feel like you've been overlooked. Maybe it's by some in-laws, or maybe it's by a boss. You feel rejected. You feel isolated. Some of you have lost your confidence. You're battling with depression. You're battling with anxious thoughts. It's hard to get out of bed every morning. Some of you are facing bad news. You're struggling financially. Your health is extremely challenging right now. Your relationships, they are in shambles. And the pressure that you feel every day, it's unbearable. You are afraid, you are hurting, and you feel overwhelmed. And you certainly feel like nobody in the world understands. I want to open this up. And if you are vulnerable enough and you're willing, what I want you to see by sharing your troubles here in a moment is that you are not alone. In fact, if you're willing to share something that you're struggling with, what you're going to find is a couple of people in the chat say, hey, I've been there, or I'm going through that too. So take a moment, 2 minutes on the clock, and let's talk about this together. What problems and trials are you going through today? Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing those. And there you go. There is your encouragement that I know you're starting to see in the chat. Two things that will bring purpose to our pain. Two things. You ready? First one, pain proves something about you. Pain, the pain and suffering you experience, it's going to prove something about you. So in Jesus, well, some of Jesus' very early followers, this is around 60, 65 AD, a few years after Jesus died and was resurrected, the first believers were extremely persecuted after a guy who's an emperor named Nero. And whenever I say extremely persecuted, we kind of distance ourselves from that word. Like, what does that mean that they were persecuted? Are they persecuted like I'm persecuted today? It was a little bit different. So, for example, and this is historical accounts, Emperor Nero would take Christians. They would be meeting privately in their homes even. He'd find them, he'd take them out, and he'd take them to the gladiatorial arenas or public squares. Some of the things he liked to do with Christians, he would completely cover them in carcasses of animal skins, still dripping with meat and blood, and then he would release hungry dogs on them. One of the most terrible things that Emperor Nero was known of doing with Christians was he would actually cover them in hot wax, and then he would burn them like candles in his private gardens. Extreme persecution. And then Peter, who was in this era and was a leader with the first Christians, this is what he had to say to people facing those realities. He says, "So be truly glad." That's difficult. There is wonderful joy ahead, even though you must endure many trials for a little while. That seems like an understatement. These trials, what will they do though? They will show that your faith is genuine. You're going to want to write this down. You're going to want to type this up. A life that has been tested is a life that can be trusted. A faith that has been tested is a faith that can be trusted. A relationship that has been tested is a relationship that can be trusted. Or Jesus tells it in the story of a parable where he talks about a guy throwing out seed. And some of the seed, it lands on a thorny ground that chokes it out and doesn't give it a chance. Other seed falls on shallow ground. It doesn't have an opportunity for its roots to grab hold, and it dies quickly. And he compares it to you. And he says, some of you are being choked out by the worries and the cares of this life, that it's destroying your faith. Others of you, when trouble or persecution comes, your faith is so shallow that it quickly fades away. Migraines you have, and they're terrible things. And at the end of it, you think, there's no way God could love me. Maybe you got rejected from grad school, and you think, there's no way God could be real. This is something good in my life, and yet he didn't give that to me. If you missed last week's thing on that you'll be happy, that God wants you to have happiness, go check that out. We talk more about that there. If a loved one dies of cancer, you think, I can't trust this God. He obviously doesn't have my best interest at heart. But here's the truth. Very often, it is in the hardest moments that you find that you're closer to God than you ever have been. Pain, it's going to prove something about you. Now, this one's going to knock your socks off. Pain, it prepares you for your purpose. Pain prepares you for your purpose. Newsflash, ease and comfort, they never make you strong. Being comfortable, easy life, it never makes you strong. I do this all the time. I go to the gym, and sometimes I'll be listening to a really good podcast, or I'll have something working in my mind, like I'm working on a project, I'm thinking about it, and I will literally walk around the gym. Not lifting. I'll sit down that thing. Okay, I'm done with that. Okay, not really trying. And whenever I do that, and it's been a month of doing that, should I really have an expectation of being stronger? I mean, I'm doing what's comfortable to me, and I'm not pushing myself. If you don't say yes to cauliflower and broccoli, can you really have the expectation of eating healthier? If you don't say no to scrolling on social media instead of reading a book, can you really have an expectation of having new ideas or having your mind stretched? No. We don't grow in ease and comfort. Or, as the brother of Jesus would say after watching his brother die for him, he says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters. Why? Why should I be joyful of the things that are happening, the hard things I'm facing in life? Because whenever you face trials of all different kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith, it produces perseverance. And let perseverance finish its work so that you may be, look at this, mature and complete and not lacking anything. Some of you are so lost in your pain that you don't see the point of it. You feel discouraged, you feel overwhelmed, you seem afraid. But could it be that God's preparation comes packaged as pain? Could it be that God's preparation comes packaged as pain? So the offense that you had done against you, maybe it's a way of purifying your heart. Or the loneliness that you feel so often, maybe it's teaching you to trust God like you've never been able to trust Him before. Or the betrayal that you experience from somebody really close. Maybe it's expanding your capacity to love and forgive. Or that setback that you face, maybe in your job or relationship. Maybe it's a setup for God to show up and to show off in a way you've never seen before. So start telling yourself that it's not just pain. It's not just pain, it's preparation. Rick Joyner said, if our lives are always easy, it's easy because we are called to a lesser purpose. there is a connection between our pain and our purpose. Your purpose is hidden inside of your pain, and until you can see the purpose in your pain is always going to be painful. There's a story of a man named Viktor Emil Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor, and Frankl is the founder of logotherapy. It's a psychotherapeutic approach that believes the lack of meaning is a paramount cause for continuous pain and stress. Now, why is Frankl an expert at this subject? It's because Frankl survived the Holocaust, even though he was in four Nazi death camps, including one of the most notorious, Auschwitz, from 1942 to 45. Even in the degradation and abject misery of the concentration camps, though, Frankl was able to exercise the most important freedom of all, the freedom to determine one's attitude and spiritual well-being. Like no sadistic Nazi guard was able to take away from Frankl what he was able to give to himself. And one of the ways that he was able to stay alive was he never lost hope, thinking about the purpose in his pain. In fact, what he noticed from other people in the camp was it was those who lost hope were the quickest to die. So the question is, how could Frankl do so much good after the Holocaust, after experiencing so much pain? Well, here it is in his own words. Suffering ceases to be suffering in some way in the moment that it finds a meaning. Frankl leveraged what was his pain for what could be his purpose. And you can also. And you may not see it right now, but there is meaning hiding in the shadows of your pain. We must pursue purpose that outlasts the pain that we're experiencing. So, question for you, for all of us in the chat, what purpose have you seen in the past pains you've experienced? Here's what our pains and frustrations do. They serve as a reminder that things are not as they were meant to be. In our heart, it longs for a better king and a better kingdom. The good news is not that Jesus saves us from our pain. Jesus never promised you that you would never have a bad day. The good news is that Jesus saves us from our sin. And I want to share with you other things that Jesus says. I want you to receive a text message from Jesus. And so if you text Jesus to the number on the screen, and now is the best time to do it, now that the Tethered Online is coming to a conclusion, You will receive for the next 3 weeks, every few days, a text message from Jesus reminding you of what he did say. But maybe you need that in other places. Maybe something like Facebook is really discouraging for you. Like it's easy to see the brokenness of the world and you want to fill your feed with positive things. Well, Tethered Talk Facebook group is for that purpose, to share your own encouragement with people in the group, but for others to share encouragement with you. So we're just now growing that group. We're actually going to be starting Facebook Live sessions in the future, and it's going to be in that group. So be sure to join it. Go check out the chat. There's a blue button that will take you directly there. And then finally, next week, we're talking about the thing that Jesus didn't say, that you don't have to forgive them. You don't have to forgive that person. That's not something Jesus said. So next week, same time, same place. We'll hope you'll join us live, just like you are now. Tethered is a hybrid approach to following Jesus. We'll see you guys next week. I hope you enjoyed that video. Remember, you can find live versions of videos just like that one by visiting tethered.online. But if you want to stay here on YouTube, we're good with that too. Be sure to continue watching some of our other videos that we have going on. Hit the subscribe button, like this video, share it, all the things that kids are saying. And remember, Tethered is a hybrid approach to following Jesus. We'll see you guys later.